Hello folks, today we're looking at electric guitar. All of our foundation, it's good to play acoustic, but there's so much fun to be had and all kinds of right hand and left hand technique because of the gain. We can work with that. With acoustic, you don't have that air. So we're going to look at Mr. Kemp here, my co-host, who is a clean tone player, and how that works with an amp. He plays Fender amps. Here he's playing a Gretsch. I am playing a Randall 212 on the first gain channel, and I'm playing a Les Paul. So I have the setup for that kind of playing. So if you're looking at, I want to play like Randy Rhoads, or I want to play like Chet Atkins, you do have the tools. They're different, right? So let us look at a clean tone example, and I believe Ty's going to do kind of a tonal center. What's tonal center versus scalular? Tonal center is where you work with the chord, notes in the chord for the melody, passing tones, of course, but centralizing around the chord. So, Mr. Kemp, give us a sample of that. At some point, everyone talks about what pedals are you using and what hot pickups have you put into your instrument and all these special extra stuff. Currently, we're both just plugged into our amps straight in, and I have reverb on 3. He's higher reverb to give that kind of watery sound. But when we talk about tone, it really is, honestly, your right hand, the kind of pick you're using. The pickups that are in yours, mine are stock. I'm very fortunate. These are stock 1960 reissue Les Paul Classic. Beautiful. Gibson doesn't make it anymore, which is a huge mistake. Into my Randall with a gain channel. I do have other things I use for live tuner, and I have a little bit of distortion, a little bit of delay. But I feel like really getting to know your playing is just going right into your amp. Angus Young, dude, SG Gibson into a Marshall. It's all about that. First, you can explore, but you want to get that foundation. Otherwise, you're kind of just shooting at stars, right? Here, I'll do the scalular example with... Uh-oh. I'm using A minor pentatonic. I'm flowing back into natural minor. If you're so inclined, the scalular run I'm doing is F Lydian, which is kind of funny. Modes are parts of broken up of the scale, but really just get into your playing. You can always analyze other people and talk about it. I know it's popular. I know what I'm doing, but I'd rather feel what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to look at... where are we? Top and bottom chords. Okay, so we have the full bar chord, let's say in G. Oh, I wanted to mention, okay, I go on 10. But when I want to kind of just cut it, you can cut your distortion by going to half volume. You don't have to change to another channel, clean channel, and all that rigmarole. You can just do it, just ever so slightly change your volume, and it kind of cleans up your tone. So we have the bottom of G. See that? We have the whole chord, which with distortion you don't really want to play that whole thing because it's kind of noisy. So we just take the top. So we're going to do a little bit of hot legs, Rod Stewart. G, C, G, D, C. Ty's going to do the top. And I'm going to do the bottom. Alright, ready? So is it? Who's that knocking on your door? That intro is really a cool riff, by the way. If you're inclined to check that out, I'm sure you can find somebody online that will show you. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Reminds me of Smoke on the Water. I'm just playing G open. When we think about that nice open G, if you recognize the second, third, and fourth strings are open. So an electric guitar, we don't play the giant chord, we cut it. We cut things in half because we have distortion, we have lift, right? So we don't need projection like acoustic. So he's just going open to then 5th fret, which would be our nice, beautiful C major. We're not playing it like that. We're just going, which is super cool, and it's not as hard as you think. So then we're going to look at Smoke on the Water. A lot of people play it on the 5th and 6th string, which I teach younger people and beginners because we can do it right away versus it's too hard physically. So we want to grow into our playing as we develop technique. So he's just doing open, 3rd fret, I might be out of tune, 5th fret, then open, 6, 5, and as you can see, I'm just doing it with my index finger, where I go. You really don't want to move your hand, left especially, more than you have to, so you keep it centralized by using index and ring. So our ring finger is a sleepy finger, but it is the champion of your hand, so it is highly important to develop your ring finger. If I go open, 3, 5, open, 3, 6, 5, open, 3, 5, 3, open, it's the same thing we did on the 6th string, but now we're going to use those 3 middle strings, 4, 3, and 2. Can we try it, Ty? Ready? It's always fun, too, with the dynamic of electric guitars. You want to do a drag. Now, Dolisandra, what was it called?
It's called a glissando.
Glissando. Okay, I guess a lot, but it's a little different on Surf when he went right yesterday. We're just gonna go, which is very fun to do. Kind of like the big slides. Use the energy you have. Okay, ready? Have fun, people. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fun part about feedback and distortion is you're really connecting with the magnets in your speakers versus the magnets in your pickups. A little bit of science, I guess. Excuse me. And watching Jimi Hendrix, you can get in front of your amp, and as you move, you can change the note. So it's really kind of fun to play with that. It's not like what you're doing here and scales and all that thoughtful stuff. It's just having fun with the energy of electric guitar. So our next thing is palm muting. I'm going to do a little Pat Benatar where you can, again, like I said, you go full volume for full distortion. You can cut your distortion without changing anything, but you can also cut your distortion using your hand. We talked about how you hold your pick. Should I show you? Curl that finger, curl that index finger, and hold it with your thumb against the index finger and your palm out. That gives you all that palm space. So palm muting. If your hand is clenched or you're holding your pick like this, there's no palm. You got to have your tools right there. And always check out some Randy Rhoads. His right hand technique is amazing, and I learned a lot about right hand by just watching him. And so we'll go. What did I say we were gonna do? Oh. So You Better Run is a song I worked on in the band Misbehaved. There are videos online. A Bay Area tribute band with a lot of really awesome female musicians in it. And we're all pretty cute too. And he goes. So I'm thoroughly controlling the right hand. If I don't do that, it's kind of noisy. So in the beginning, he actually does it open. When Pat comes in, as the vocals come in, I learned this from my good friend Alvin Adami, who's up in heaven watching us right now, how dynamics can really fine-tune your playing. So when the singer is not playing, you can kind of be more noisy, but when the vocals come in or another instrument comes in, we step back 10%, pull back 10%, just to make it more dynamic, and I feel it's like polished. So if you're making something out of metal, it's great, you're doing it all, the soldering and all that, at the end you polish it. So that's the final touches, and it's kind of the fun part actually. So that's I went. See how my right hand is so connected. I also tend to pulse with my left hand. I'm releasing the left hand ever so slightly, so both hands are actually controlling. Another thing about power chords is when we do open chords, we have to arc, and we have to be all, reaching over. So everybody sounds. With power chords, what you want to do is let that index finger, the side of this index finger, ever so gently touch the first three strings. And so you're muting those higher strings. Although I'm muting here, I do have a subtle mute. See that? Even if I hit them, they're not going to play because my left hand is also muting, the higher strings. Also, something I learned from, two little things. When you're playing electric guitar and you're standing, which you should be, I don't know if you can see that, you should hook your cable into your strap. If you step on your cable accidentally, it will not jerk out of your 1/4-inch jack. You want to really take care of that because if it does pull out, one, you're going to look silly on stage. Two, you could damage your jack. So you want to beware. And there's a little nut on there that honestly one time mine fell off on stage, which was really embarrassing. And so I constantly tighten that every time I plug in. So you want to take care of your instrument, and then it's just better. Also, my teacher, Gina DeMose, who's now married, I don't know her married name, living in Los Angeles, wonderful teacher, did so much work with me. When you're not playing or you're tuning, always turn your volume knob off. It's just an etiquette thing that when you're around other people, you want to be self-respecting and professional. So if you notice that, every time I stop, I turn my volume knob off. Also, we were talking about tuning. You can see my snark. I have a snark tune clip tuner. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Boop, boop, boop. To keep me in tune live, I have a pedal. My Boss tuner is the best $100 I ever spent. When you click the tuner, it cuts your signal. So in between songs, if I'm worried my G or B are out, which is normal, I can cut my, what do you call it? You can't hear me. So I can quickly tune in front of an audience. A signal, that is the word signal. Cut my signal, I can tune really fast, and nobody even knows I'm doing it. So for live, that's really great to have a pedal tuner. But right now I just have a snark on because I said I was directly playing through my amp. I don't have any pedals right now. All right, so we're talking about hammer-ons, pull-offs, and trills. I want to just look at vibrato and slides also. So if you were going to play, let's go to A minor pentatonic, everybody. Right, you can go. I can also go. Where you can take the notes you're playing and slither them. Again, with gain, for me, you don't have to pick. So you get these flutters. If I went, or I went, I can have that sound. So when you hear somebody and it seems like, wow, they're so fast, it's impossible. Nope, they're probably sliding or doing trills and hammer-ons. Again, when we also talked about, you want a vibrato anytime you're holding a note. Vibrato takes some time, like bending, to develop, so you want to start on that now, and it might feel rushed or artificial, but in time, B.B. King is one of the most incredible vibrato players. If you want to watch people play, watch their hands, and listen to how cool it sounds, that will enhance your playing. So, Mr. Kemp, will you play us a little jazz? Jazz is more of a clean tone, although some people, artistically, we can do anything we want. We don't have to say when we're doing jazz or when we're doing rock. Many players express themselves, they find their voice. But if we watch Ty play, you can see the chording is much more compounded. Now our basic major minor chords are 3 notes, right? We go to 7 chords, now we have 4 notes. And what happens is we keep stacking on more notes to that foundation. And so we realize a lot of our stuff happens back here, but in jazz, you'll find it's here. Why? Because our instrument, we can stack the notes here that we don't have here. I'll be going over the neck diagram stuff because I'm really into understanding the instrument. It's fascinating. But let's get a little sample of electric guitar jazz. Yep. So we'll conclude. I have so much more I'd like to play. We'll take it out with a little AC/DC. Interesting thing about AC/DC, bless Malcolm Young, and the Young family, because of all they've given us, heartfelt. Angus is the lead player, who's wonderful, crazy expression, but Malcolm was the main writer. So sometimes take the time, which we might have today, get the album, look at the details, look at the credits, who wrote what, who was the producer, where did they record it, and if you like a band or you like a song, delve into their background, because you will just appreciate them more. I know people just download singles, some people don't even know the name of the band, they just know one song, but if you buy the album, you support the artist, but you also find a deeper appreciation. And I feel like as a fan to the artist, it's a very intimate relationship. So I encourage you to cultivate that relationship. If you really like them, you'll find many other things that you enjoy about them. I know in the modern time, it's just downloads and all that. But again, I'm old school. And I believe I used to steal my brother's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath album, LP, because it had all the lyrics. And he would find me and yell at me and say, stop taking my records, and I would still do it because I really I felt like I had a deeper appreciation for what was happening. So sponsor your favorite artist. So we'll do a little bit of, what is it, Back in Black, which is more formed around not full chords or power chords. They actually take the open chords as they are, and they cut them down, and when they play G, they don't even play a chord, they just play the single note. But again, with distortion and all that, you can lift the smallest part of a chord and make it work. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, ready? How does it go? 1, 2, I find your right hand is the drummer. Your right hand is percussive. It is rhythmic. So I find I never stop moving my right hand. So there's no drummer here, but when I went, what that does, I find it helps me to stay in the vein. You jump in the river, the water's flowing. You don't want to stop and start, stop and start. So really, again, bobblehead, bobble arm, you don't ever want to stop your right hand. I mean, I mute. I'm muting on the left, but I'm keeping this going. And that's really important to connect. You don't want to stop and start because then it's like choppy. And it might not sound necessarily choppy, but you might feel you're like connecting and disconnecting. If you keep this going the whole time, whether you're playing or not, excuse me, you flow more, right? I have this other weird thing about being right-handed and your right foot, and you tap, you really are connecting on the whole right side of your body, the rhythm of what you're doing. And that goes for acoustic playing also, but you want to have that flow there. So this is our first electric guitar lesson. I hope we did all right. Why don't we play one more little sample? This is for Patrick Willis.